today is essentially one element of the marketing mix. It is one element of the P that is promotion. You've all done your Ps, haven't you? Where are we with Ps? Are we at 6, 7? Product, place, price, promotion, people, process, that's at least 6. I still all the time reference the Ps. I do presentations occasionally for business people, keynote speeches and all that sort of stuff. I just did one in New Zealand last week. And it's amazing the number of people, this was for hairdressers, and it's amazing the number of people of these hairdressing salons who were just amazed that you could basically, sort of drill down into your own business and say, what are we doing about our distribution strategy, the P for place? What are we doing about our pricing strategy? Are we price leaders? Are we price takers? What are we doing about our promotional strategy? What are we, PR? Is it Facebook? What are we doing on Twitter? What are we doing in terms of, talking to our customers and understanding them better? So it's really important that you look at all the Ps, and public relations, which is what I do, which used to be, to some degree, an extension of journalism, I suppose. The whole idea of public relations came out of the communications degree at UTS. You did comms/PR, yeah? And PR was full of ex-hacks. And you know what? Here's the funny thing. That's what I am. I'm an ex-journo from News Limited. Ex-hacks who thought you can't make any money in writing for newspapers anymore. So I'm going to go into PR because it seems like fun, the parties are better, chicks are nicer, the checks are bigger, and media looks like it might die. And got most of that right. But public relations is now essentially, we are up now against all the other companies within the marketing communications world, and anyone who comes into public relations these days without an understanding of what marketing is, the basic fundamentals of marketing, the tenets of marketing, the Ps, all the other things that you learn at university, have massive competitive advantage. Has anyone ever, I should probably tell you what the hell I do, because has anyone done their research and looked at Liquid Ideas' website or anything like that? Be honest. 2? Okay, that's cool. So Liquid Ideas is what I would call a modern public relations firm. We are according to some report that came out last week, we're the 11th largest public relations firm in Australia. We're the largest independently owned public relations firm in Australia, which means that most of the other public relations firms are part of a multinational network of either advertising agencies or media agencies or that type of thing. We are not. We are wholly owned by me. We have about 30 to 35 staff, depending on the day. And we call ourselves these days, because it's not enough just to say public relations. I have to get people in to tell me that we are in fact a unique creative communications agency who understands lifestyle and culture from the inside. But the simple fact is that if you were to say what is it that Liquid Ideas does, Liquid Ideas tries to work with brands that either want to get into the lifestyle space or lifestyle brands that want to sort of broaden their reach outside of it. So that's a bit of a remit of some of our clients. We're based in Alexandria. We also have a small office in Melbourne. We do a whole bunch of different things for a whole lot of different brands, but you sort of see there's a bit of a thread through those brands there, I suppose, which is alcohol, not entirely surprisingly, a couple of charities, some travel, retail, hospitality. Does anyone know what a firm like mine does on a day-to-day basis? So does everyone know the difference, this whole idea of the difference between in-house and agency? So you could be working in-house, for instance, for Vodafone, within their communications team, where basically you would spend a lot of time briefing the PR agency to execute some of your big ideas, whether they were, Lewis Hamilton is coming into town and we need to maximise the media opportunities to get the Vodafone brand out. We know we're going to be in the motoring and sporting pages, because those cars are going to be whizzing around, and we know we're going to get a lot of stuff on TV. How do we get our brand into the news pages? So do we do a stunt? Do we get him to drive really fast over the Harbour Bridge? You have a couple of hours. And so what the in-house team does is the in-house team normally will coordinate a bunch of different agencies. There's a whole bunch of different agencies in our space, whether they're public relations agencies, what they call experiential agencies. So, you go and see a stunt down in Martin Place, or you go and see an execution at a football game or something like that. That's normally done by a particular agency that does what we call experiential these days. Events in the old days, I suppose. There's a digital agency as well who will manage all of the sort of digital assets that a company has. There's a social media agency often who will basically be looking after the Facebook, Twitter, how we're going to talk to our customers. And to some degree, all of these agencies are overlapping and trying to compete with each other, obviously, to get a certain amount of budget, right? So the client, and then there's the advertising agency, obviously, as well, what people call the creative agency. And the advertising agency is suggesting what? That you should spend all your money on advertising. The PR agency is saying you should spend all your time on PR, or what we call earned media. Does everyone know the difference between paid, owned and earned? Here's an interesting story about brand management, right? We've had a bit to do with both of these girls, and at exactly the same time, a decade ago, they were almost the same person. Right? They were both pretty young girls who were getting an opportunity. By that I'm talking about her and her, right? Who both had a bit of an opportunity, both got a lot of exposure. And look what you can do if you manage your brand well. Exhibit A. And look what you do if you just let your brand go feral. Exhibit B. No, I'm serious. There's absolutely no reason why this one, B, couldn't have been as successful as A, but she never paid enough attention to her P's. She never paid enough attention to what the brand was. This girl, on the other hand, the first thing she did was get the toughest, meanest, best agent in the business, and made sure that every step of the way she thought about the impact long term. This girl, what's long term for Lara? 7:30 tonight, right? Long term for Jennifer is what am I doing for my next 10 years? It's a great example of two things. One is that I don't like, people aren't brands, but the decisions you make and the friends you choose and the way you wish to portray yourself, it's very, very, it's absolutely important, and it comes to brand you and brand me. But what I wanted to talk about very briefly, this is important, guys. Write this down, right? There are three types of media, if you think about it. There's earned media, which is when you get your brand an endorsement, where someone else says something positive about you. Think about it on TripAdvisor, think about it on a blog, think about it on Facebook, think about it on Twitter. When someone says, hey, Nike just did this awesome thing, go and have a look at YouTube. Unpaid endorsement, right? Hey, I just got this hilarious viral video from Volkswagen. Have a look at it. I just saw this amazing thing that Adidas was doing. Have you seen what Red Bull? If you think about Red Bull, as an example, like Red Bull is the best marketed product in the world at the moment. There's no question. Best marketed in the world. Because it only works on earned and owned media. Think of this. How many times, when's the last time you saw a Red Bull ad? Like a straight up ad, either a billboard poster or a television commercial, Red Bull. They've got the little guy they draw, occasionally it pops up on TV. And then you might see a new product advertised on the back of on the side of a bus shelter if they've got the new, they had those new flavours come out a little while ago, the cranberry and the blueberry and that sort of stuff. But 95% of their marketing budget is spent on earned media, which is getting other people talking about Red Bull. What is the greatest ever marketing stunt that would have earned billions of dollars of what we call publicity? The bloke who jumped out of the spaceship, right? That was on every television network, everywhere in the world, 1 million times. Think about that as the new marketing paradigm, right? What that was about was saying, Red Bull, we don't want to pay some guy to do it. We want to do it ourselves. And what they did basically is they owned the project. Just like Red Bull says to themselves, we don't just want to sponsor someone else's Formula One team or someone else's soccer team or someone else's extreme sport event. We want to own it. We want it to be the Red Bull soccer team, the Red Bull Formula One team, the Red Bull Flugtag, when the guys fly off, right? Or the Red Bull guy who did that amazing fly through the chasm yesterday in China. Did you see that on the news this morning? Insane, right? Red Bull understands that if they can own the property and earn the media, you don't have to pay for advertising like you used to. And our, I suppose, motto is to champion earned media. So if you see that top one there, that's what a public relations firm does. There's a definition of public relations. I don't know what you read in your... We try to get other people to say awesome things about our brand. You've got to earn it, don't you? You've got to have done something that's a bit more awesome than just taking out an ad or slapping your logo on the back of someone's shirt. And I think it's really important that you guys, and to me, that means that social media is key. How your brand talks directly to its consumers or to a broader community via, whether it's via Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, whatever it is absolutely essential. And public relations has changed more in the last 18 months than it has in the previous 20 years. And PR is getting other people to say about you what would sound like if you said it yourself. You know what I mean? I'm awesome. Like, I'm brand X, whatever brand I am, right? I am brilliant. That's called an ad, isn't it? Having you tell her that I'm brilliant, right? That's PR. That's public relations. And it's been proven time and time again. If I tell you I'm brilliant, you're going to go, bullshit. Of course you would say that. But if she turns to you and says, you know what, he's brilliant, you're going to believe it, aren't you? Comes from a trusted source, someone you know, someone you respect, someone you like. Our job as brand public relations people is to try to work our little magic charms on you so you tell her. We don't tell you direct, we use a third party to tell you. We? And that's your mate Bill Gates. And he understands that word of mouth, or public relations, is the most important element, because if people start whispering that Microsoft's shit, it turns into a tsunami, doesn't it? Or don't use that platform. What Apple is facing right now is a bit of a public relations war. People are starting to turn on Apple, aren't they? It's not that they're not advertising, it's not that their products haven't changed, but people starting to say, you know what, I'm getting the shit with this iPhone. So remember this, guys. You've got to, in the old days, you used to be able to tell people what to do. And to some degree, Apple being the innovator in that space just told people that they needed an iPod, first of all, then they needed an iPhone, then they needed an iPad, and they were right. We didn't know we needed it, but we needed it, right? And we got it. These days, you've got to engage. You've got to keep engaging with your customers, engaging with your consumers, engaging with your public. It's much harder now than it ever used to be to build great brands, but it's potentially less reliant on massive advertising budgets. Start thinking about those great brands that are just coming up, whether it's, I saw T2. Does anyone drink T2? T2 tea? Everyone like T2 as a brand? It's a lovely brand, isn't it? Got bought by Unilever last week. Like the biggest multinational owner of awesome brands in the world. They own everything from Gillette shavers to toothpaste to Rexona to food brands and bread brands, and they own Lipton, and they bought T2. It was a brand that had no advertising budget at all, a couple of awesome shops, a couple of great ideas, and grew through a wonderful PR and word of mouth, didn't it? And I think she might have got 50 million. Single woman in Melbourne, just setting up a tea business. And in the old days, you used to think, I need to spend all that money on advertising, all that sort of stuff. You just simply don't need to anymore. What I'm trying to do is give you a bit of a sense of what Liquid Ideas does, I suppose. Because we are full of people like you. And as we end up sitting at the table with the head of the advertising agency arguing over who should get the most of the budget, and I'm obviously saying, well, earned media is more important than paid media because no one believes advertising anymore. And even if they convince you to advertise, how many TV shows do you watch live and suffer through the advertising? But I even will watch shows about 15 or 20 minutes late so I can zap the ads, right? And almost finish, I give it the timing right, almost finish it at the same time. Yeah, you know what I mean? It's interesting, has everyone seen the Channel 10 flip in the last couple of weeks? All about fast track. Fast track from the US, fast track from the US, fast track from the US, fast track from the US. Because everyone, who's going to wait 6 weeks to see a goddamn Modern Family when you can download it in 2 minutes the minute after, or Homeland, or whatever else their shows are. And also their domestic production is tanking. They're having a real tough time trying to make their own local shows. So here's what you've got to do. Start with a better product, right? This is the key to you guys becoming good marketing managers, PR managers, or anything else. Be a better steak, right? Don't be the shit one on the left, be the good one on the right. This is someone trying to be funny. This is my designer trying to be funny, because the wine on the left is actually my wine with the giant 3. See it? Dirty 3. And he's a Kiwi, so he's saying Atarangi Pinot Noir is better than my wine, right? He thinks it's funny. He probably won't have a job on Friday when he comes back from his holidays. But this was for a presentation I did in New Zealand at the weekend. And I was going, so you see here, be a better product, which is normally the steak. And then I went, isn't that funny? So you've got to be better. But the key focus with any brand isn't your PR campaign or your advertising campaign. It still is, be a better product. So if you're a brand manager, if any of you go into brand management, the key is fixing that brand. We knock back an inordinate number of potential pieces of business. Now that might be a wine or a restaurant. Like we went to a pretty well-known restaurant down in Darling Harbour, wanted us to come and do a PR campaign for them because they're turning 15. They're worried that they're not getting the sorts of reviews they might have got in the past, and could we come and help, recreate their awesomeness with a 12-month PR strategy? Get the media down there, get people talking about it, get the reviewers back into it, have some functions, get some social media going, all that sort of stuff. Yeah, that's the sort of brief we get a lot. I said, well, maybe I'm going to come down and eat there. I'm going to write you a review as if I was the Good Food Guide editor. So I went down there with one of my staff. I ate pretty much everything on the menu. I'm quite an enormous fat man, obviously. Wrote them a review. And we never heard from them again, because they couldn't deal with the truth. I used to write a lot of Good Food Guide reviews, so that happens to be an area of which I'm sort of, kind of know. I still judge the wine list of the year for the Good Food Guide. And my wife used to be the editor of the Good Food Guide in Melbourne, the Age Good Food Guide. So I actually know what I'm talking about. Most of what I talk about is complete rubbish. This is actually an area that I know a little bit about. And, but, they had two choices. Their choice was, one, ignore me and just bury their head in the sand, which a lot of people in business do, and they wonder why they end up going out of business. Two was to say, thank God, someone's told us the truth. It's our product that's the problem. It can't be fixed by a flash. And this is what someone needed to tap Vodafone on the shoulder, and I think it's just happened. Tap them on the shoulder and say, you know what, it's not our advertising campaign that's the problem, it's not the promotional campaign, it's the goddamn product we're offering. Right? So never fall into the trap that everything can be solved by PR. It can't. We have long-term clients who we've been working with for 10 years. The business started 2000. We've got some clients who've been with us probably 10 or 11 years of that. And what we do for them is, that's a wine brand called Taylor's. Everyone knows Taylor's wines. Go and drink some more bloody Taylor's. I need the money to pay off my new house. Taylor's is a great brand. We do all sorts of things for them. We will do wine dinners. We'll send wine to the media. We'll do press releases. They'll win an award overseas. We'll harass the media to get the boss on the radio, all that sort of stuff. So that's a long-term relationship. Some people come to us for one-off projects. Like, for instance, today we have a meeting with the Sixers, because cricket's a bit of a thing for me. So the Sixers come to us, and each year we kind of launch them each year. That's the 2020 side. So we'll throw we'll get as many influencers from Sydney into the room as we possibly can for their first match. We'll do their social media. We'll throw the best party. We'll help them with their launch as well, which they do 3 days before the first match. Hermes does something similar. They want us to do a particular event for them. We'll do a particular event for them and then go away. So it really depends on the client. Some will be projects, some will be 6 or 12 months, and some will be start at 12 months and end up at 10 years. It's really important to get your pricing strategy right. Make sure that people value your product. an important thing for you guys to remember if you're marketing the students is never let the price dictate what people think of the product, because if that's the case, you're stuffed. Has everyone heard of the commodity slide? Do you still learn that at school? Learn about the commodity slide, because as soon as you get on the thing called the commodity slide, just go and Google it, Wikipedia it, and all that sort of stuff. It is the death of any brand. It basically means that you have become a product that is undifferentiated, right? So people just say, so what happens when what happens if there's two products that are essentially the same, you don't value one brand over or above the other, how's the way you make your decision? The cheap one. You just go for the cheap one, don't you? Let's say there's two generic chewing gums. I'm just seeing chewing gum going on here. That one's $4, that one's $3.50. Fuck, I'll just buy the $3.50. Right? If you're on that commodity slide, the guy at $4 starts losing all his market share, so he's got to be $3.25. Then the other guy is $2.90, and then it's $2.70. You end up, one of you goes out of business first. Right? Make sure you never get on the commodity slide. There we are there. Never buy. Here's another bit of advice, guys. If you guys are all going into marketing and brands and PR, yeah? Don't buy generic products in the supermarket. Because if you keep buying those products, and by that I mean the Black and Golds or the Freedoms or the Woolworths or the Coles products, you are going to do yourselves out of future employment. Do you understand that? Brands matter, right? And I'll tell you why brands matter. For our economy to work, we need brands. For there to be innovation, do you all understand this? This is why when a lot of your righteous friends go, oh, why do you want to go in marketing and PR? Tell them that what you're doing is you're helping keep the economy working. Because if everything was just, if we just had one toothbrush, right, first of all, there would be no innovation. There would be no investment in making a better toothbrush, would there? Why would I bother? There's only one form of toothbrush, or car, or shoe, or shirt, or clicker. Someone, Logitech, came along and invented a slightly better clicker than the person before them, right? Only because they could get market share, right? Customers need choice. Because if you don't have choice and you end up with monopoly markets, you end up with uncompetitive behaviour, you pay too much for things, and it's bad for everything. It's bad for the economy, it's bad for business, it's bad, and we do not progress. Right? So brands matter, and don't let anyone tell you they don't, because every time you walk out of any room, have a look at the brands that you are plastered with, the brands that live with you, and without them, you'd be sitting in a horse and buggy. It was only because someone said, fuck, there's got to be a better way than this to get around. I might make a quid out of this. I'm going to try to invent a car, right? And then Toyota said, we could make a quid out of a Prius, right? A much, much more efficient carbon neutral car, right? Or a hybrid like a Lexus hybrid, to give themselves a competitive advantage over their competitors. If there hadn't been brands competing against each other, that sort of innovation just doesn't need to happen, does it? So never underestimate the importance of great brands. Never forget your people. You know what I talk about my staff? My staff and my people are my brand. I've got 30 staff, and if they're going out there shit-canning my business, I'm in strife, aren't I? So invest in your people. Understand that it's the people, it's the sales rep out there representing your brand who's the most important person. Get your processes right? Know what happens behind the scenes. Knowing where you are is as important as who you are. For instance, with my wine label, my key job with that wine label is to get it into fancy restaurants. Because if people see it in fancy restaurants, even if they don't buy it, they're going to go, ooh, must be fancy. Yeah, might go onto a website and buy it, or might see it in a shop or whatever. But for me, that's our key P at the moment. Place. Get it into, they say that line, seen in all the right places. Because the other thing is, when I send my newsletter out at the end of the year, and I tell all my potential customers, my direct customers, hey, dear Dave, dear mum and dad, normally, that's about as far as my database goes, just want to let you know our wine's available at Rockpool, Guillaume, Key, Mr. Wong and Monopole. Any of you heard of any of those restaurants? I hope so. They go, it's a success. It must be good. We all know what promotion is. We all know what that is. One thing that I reckon all brands are, think about the brands you love. And I reckon something that not enough brands are cottoning onto maybe over the last 2 or 3 years, and that is openness and honesty. Like in PR, if 10 years ago I was to tell you that you should just be frank, open, fearless, and tell it like it is, I would have been slapped down, right? Because PR was all about spin, yeah? But these days things have changed, hey? Deny, yeah. Pretend it didn't happen. Put your head in the sand. And you just can't get away with it anymore. There's too many ways for people to find you out. It's too easy to be caught out. So I keep telling my clients, and I'm telling you that only 20% of my clients listen to this, which is be first. Get out there. Be the first person to tell people you've done it. Don't wait for there to be this massive amount of social media crap and you're in the papers and everything else and you're deny. And by this I'm talking about Volkswagen. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go and have a look at Volkswagen's campaign. Volkswagen stuff. Did everyone see that the girl, apparently a lot around the world, your new Volkswagens just stop while you're driving. They stall. They just turn off and stall. One girl in Melbourne on the Monash Freeway, her car just stalled, brand new Golf stalled. She got hit in the back by a truck and died. She was 21 or something. Now, as a father of a daughter of 9 years old, and I think of what am I going to buy my daughter for her first car, I'm now reluctant to buy a Golf. And I'm a Volkswagen lover. Volkswagen just put their head in the sand, would not talk. There was a coroner's inquest. Volkswagen had nothing to say. What Volkswagen should have said is, we are recalling every single Golf on the road. We're going to be frank. This is an awful thing to have had happen. We're going to do everything we possibly can to fix it. Because the thing about, does everyone know about what a love mark is? Did you study love marks? Okay, a bloke called, not Kevin O'Brien, Kevin Roberts. Kevin Roberts, New Zealand. So Google this guy, right? Google love mark, and a guy called, don't do it now, but do it when you're studying for your exam. You'll sound really smart. He talks about it's more than being a brand. You have to be a love mark. You have to be a brand that people actually love, because when they love you, they will forgive you a stuff up. Right? When you think about it, you're right. Like, let's say you have a particular pair of shoes you love, or a particular handbag, or a particular thongs, or just looking around randomly, jumpers, or whatever. Coffee brands. If you're a love mark and you really love that brand, you will forgive them, but you will also tell all of your friends about them evangelistically, won't you? Oh my God, this shampoo I've been using is, not that I would be talking about shampoo, but let's just use, I'm looking at you, is unreal. Like, you've just got to have it, and you badger your friends to buy something, right? Imagine being that brand, that you're so loved by your core of customers that they badger their friends to buy it. Do you have brands like that? Oh my God, you have to try. I tell you what we do a lot with, we do it with music. You just have to listen to this new Arctic Monkeys album. It's out of this world. It's so unreal. Oh my God, it is good. There you go, see? It's the Daft Punk album launch. Right? There was so much talk about people having to do this and having to go to Wee War and having to be engaged. And oh my God, here it comes. They're not doing that with advertising, are they? Did you ever see a Daft Punk ad? They had people who loved their brand so much they did it for them, didn't they? Right? And it's really important that you be frank, fearless, and try to be funny. People love brands that make them laugh, right? It used to be that you had to be a serious brand to be taken seriously. But think about the brands you love and the way they behave themselves. Don't be afraid to be funny. Okay, write this down, all of you, right? The slide that makes it all easy. But that's the slide that will get you a higher distinction in your final exam. Just make your product better. Make price irrelevant. Make the places you are seen quality. Right? So think about where you're being sold. If your product is in the $2 shop, you're gone, aren't you? No policy with people. Bad. Everyone know what the no policy? That was Paul Roos talking about the Sydney Swans. He said, we have to, the culture of this place was successful from when we decided we had a no policy, and I try to use it every day in my office. We had some poisonous people in our office last year, and I saw the culture of our business really slip because I didn't act fast enough on getting rid of the. Make sure your processes are reliable. It's all very well to have great promotion, good product and good price, but if you can't deliver your product on time, you give people the don't you? And make your promotion credible, and make it fun, and make it believable, and make it fearless. And that's what I say about grad bands. Right? Always be prepared to take risks. And this is for you. If you look at that is you and your career, isn't it? Take some risks. Mean something. Do something that you're passionate about, something you love. Here's 8 commandments for graduates. Right? Be awesome, don't shirk, do more. Otherwise you will just be run of the mill. Ask heaps of questions, but here you go. Listen to the answers. Right? I've got people who work with me who ask lots of questions. Don't worry if you really don't know what you want to do until you're 26 or 30 or 34. Your 20s, find your way. 30s, try to establish. 40s, make some money. 50s, pay for your kids to fuck everything up. And 60s, go on a cruise. Stay in credit. Right? I am obsessed by this in my business. There are too many people asking for favours from people all the time. Be the person delivering the favours, not asking the favours. Always, always, always stay in credit. Right? I'm telling you guys, there's nothing, shirt tuggers, you don't want to be one of those people, right? Research, 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 know everything, study more, and study forever. I just finished a company director's course, right? I graduated on Tuesday night. And it's really important to never stop trying to learn more and be better. I have a taxi driver analogy, right? Just doing the same thing over and over and over again does not make you any good at it, right? Otherwise, taxi drivers would be the best drivers on the road because they drive more than all of us combined, don't they? So just repetitive doing things does not make you better. You must learn, you must ask questions, you must research. You can't be successful at anything if you don't love it, right? You can't. And the final bit of advice is ignore all advice from old blokes like me and find your own way. Unless you are one of my children, which none of you are, luckily. They have to listen to everything I say. And that's me. You can find me there. Follow me on Twitter, people. We have a pretty good intern program at Liquid Ideas. As I said, we're an independent, fun, successful PR firm. Don't listen to me though, listen to other people talk about us because that's what PR is. See, that was an advertisement, wasn't it? And it's probably wrong. I'm done.